Okay, welcome to the video on connector repair. In the last video, I showed you how to solder using a triggered soldering gun, a soldering iron. We went over the wire strippers, wire cutters, and the proper method in making a repair to a wire when using solder. Soldering, as we remember, is going to be the best method because solder puts the least amount of resistance back in the circuit whenever there's a problem. Today I want to show you how to repair connectors and take it that one step further. After we've soldered the wire, what do we do then? Let's go ahead and first address connectors. There's literally a gazillion different style connectors out there, and for every make and model, Toyota, Chevrolet, Honda, whatever you got, these things fail. And what usually happens is, over time, just this rocking back and forth of the connector, maybe sometimes it's been unplugged and plugged so many times that the connectors fail. What the technician's going to need to do is get in there and make a repair to that connector. I have some various tools here that we use, and we always want to keep in mind the best tool for the technician is that right there, the pocket screwdriver. Okay. Here I have some terminal repair tools, and what these are going to do is these are going to allow you to get into the terminal and remove the connector. Most of these are for imports. I know this silver one here kind of works best on import vehicles, so I got these from Snap-on. They're probably about, I don't know, 25 bucks a piece, and as you see, the workbench just keeps growing with more and more tools. And keep in mind, this is just electrical, so over time, you can only imagine what you're going to amass in tools. So what I'm going to do is, let's go ahead and take one of these connectors out. First, what you got to do is determine which side to insert your disconnect tool. Is the clip in the front, or is it going to be in the back? And I'm going to go over a few of these. This one right here is your typical General Motors connector. And I see that the little clip that holds the wire in is going to be in the front. So I want to choose the best tool. Look carefully. Some of these just are regular screwdriver kind of blades, and they'll do a real good job of getting in there for you. So I'm going to pick this one. And what I'm doing is I'm going to go right in through the top of this connector, and hopefully after I release it, there we go, the connector will come right out. And over time, what's going to happen, not only does it rattle loose, but these terminals are just going to spread apart, and now you're not going to have a good connection. If we remember from our circuitry that when we don't have that good connection, we're probably losing a ground, current's not going to flow, maybe it's your power side, whatever the case is, we got to make that repair. And I want to go through on how to do that. I'm going to move you a little bit closer. Now that we've seen how to take the connector, or terminal rather, out of the connector, that's just one of them. Let's look at a few of the others here that I have on the workbench. Some of these are not going to be very easy. Like this one right here, if I'm looking at it, I can tell that, there's nothing in the back for me to insert that fancy tool in and do anything with. So if you see that, there's nothing in the back, there's got to be something in the front, because, hey, these things got to come apart. Technician has to be able to service them. So on this one, it has this red safety clip in here, this red part right there, and it says Ford on it, so we know it's a Ford connector. And I'm going to use that best tool that a mechanic can have, pocket screwdriver, and I'm just going to get in around the sides here and work that safety clip up. You want to do this gently because you don't want to crack the side of the connector. See, I got that safety plug out. And now we can see all of the terminals right in here. And with that, you can just go ahead and select whatever tool, is going to fit in there best. Obviously, these clips are going to be in the front. And depress that clip just like I showed you on the other connector. And this one's going to push right out through the front. You're going to pull it through the front rather than the back like we did on the other one. Okay. When you're done, I'm just going to put my safety clip back in, pops in, and you should be good to go. Alright, Now what I want to do is I want to go through a repair of that terminal. Let's say that we did have a failed connector, or terminal rather, inside of our connector. We're going to need to replace it. And what do we do that with? Well, what I see a lot is technicians out there, rather than taking that terminal out of the connector, what they'll do is they'll simply bypass around it. And what I mean is this wire has failed, be it positive or negative side of the circuit. They'll just cut that wire out, and now they'll attach a wire and go right around the connector, splicing it in with a butt connector. You can do that. You know, I've seen that. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think you know me by now that, you know, it should look right, and to bypass around it really doesn't look right. I'm always concerned with what a customer is going to think. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you some of the selections that we have with the terminals. And again, these style terminals are called OE terminals, original equipment. And they usually come like this. Select the vehicle that you're working on. If you're working on a Toyota, make sure you buy Toyota OE terminals, original equipment terminals. And they're going to give you usually a kit with, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 different style terminals in that kit. Those kits generally run, I think they're probably about 20 bucks, something like that. And you can get them at pretty much any part store. So what I'm going to do is the terminal that we took out right here, that one's from a GM. I don't have my GM terminal assortment with me, so I'm going to get one that kind of looks similar, knowing full well that it's not going to fit in that connector, and I'm not even going to try. So I'm just going to take one of these, and we'll just sort of pretend for the video that this terminal is this terminal, just so you can see the process. What I'll do is I'm going to use a separate piece of wire. Is same as the other ones. I'm going to take my wire strippers and remove a little bit of that insulation. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to secure this. I'll show you what that looks like. That copper part's going to go right in there, and if you splice a little too much off, that's okay. Go ahead and grab your side cutters, and I'm going to remove a little bit of that copper. Okay. Back to where I make sure that I'm getting a real good grab on it. And when I lay that wire in there, you're going to see that there's two sets of tabs on here. Trying to get that as close as I can. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that first set of tab and I'm going to fold it over the insulation. And I'm going to do the same with the other side. Kind of crimp that down. And I'm just using the tops of my side cutters. I'm trying to hold this in the camera as best I can so you can see it. Now your next step is to do the same thing. We're going to repeat the process by folding this one down. We'll overlap it with that one, because if you leave those sticking up, it's never going to fit back into the connector. And right there, that looks pretty good. You could get away with that. But what I like to do is take it one step further. I got my soldering iron heating up over here. So what I'm going to do is grab a little solder, lay this thing flat, and I'm going to put a little dab of solder. Try and get you a little closer there where you can see it. I'm going to put a little dab of solder right on the top of that, just to make sure that it stays in there and it holds really well. I'm going to give it a moment, sort of heat that connection up. I'll go ahead and tin my soldering iron a little bit. And you don't want to overdo it here. Don't put too much solder on your connection. I'll explain why here in a second. Okay, so what I did, there we go. I'll melt that down a little more. Okay. If you put too much solder on the connection, what's going to happen is the connection is not going to fit back into that terminal. If there's too large of a bead on there. So take it easy on the solder when doing that. Okay, so that right there would be an acceptable original equipment repair for terminals, and that's how the technicians do that. Now, let's say, for example, and I don't want to run this video too long because then they, seem to go on forever and ever and ever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video here at terminal replacement inside of connectors. And remember, patience is everything. These terminals, they're only made out of plastic, and they do tend to crack, so take it easy when you're trying to pry the little terminals out of the connector. I hope that helps, and good luck with terminal repair.